Hi, I'd like to introduce and explain and demonstrate a bit a little exercise that I give to all my students and that I use myself. I like to use this as a little warm-up before rehearsals sometimes. This is a very simple little scale exercise, but there's a variation on it that makes it difficult and is very helpful on a number of levels. This is based on principles of the teaching of Carmine Caruso, as introduced to me by a good friend named Sam Burtis, who's a wonderful trombone player in New York. Sam studied with Carmine. Another teacher that studied with Carmine Caruso is Julie Landsman, former principal horn of the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, and I highly recommend her videos on her website on the subject. This is not exactly a Caruso exercise, but it's a variation using those principles. Now, those basic principles are that we do simple exercises on the instrument, always in the framework of our own internal subdivided pulse. And we use the tapping of our foot to externalize that and give the rest of the system something to coordinate with. Okay? So, so to explain my exercise, I just play a scale. I like to actually do this with just the first 5 notes of a major scale. And I will coordinate with my tapping foot at a good andante tempo and get a subdivision going in my head. 16th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And then I'm going to play a 5-note scale. And I'm going to start by playing on the beat. And then I'm going to go down a half step or up a half step. And I'm going to move it over a subdivision. So I'll be playing on the second 16th of each beat. And then I'm going to play another scale, and I'm going to move it over another subdivision to the third 16th of each beat. And then the next one on the fourth 16th of each beat. And then I'm back on the beat, okay? And I'll do that for a while. I'll extend to the upper register, I'll extend to the lower register. It doesn't really matter, but the benefits are great. Let me demonstrate it. Okay? Now, if you find yourself playing with a lot of effort, and especially a lot of mental effort to do these subdivisions, so they end up sounding like syncopations, which they are, but the idea is to try to make them as consistent as possible and make it just as calm as when you're playing on the beat. Okay? So if you find yourself going, right? Try to calm that down and just keep the notes long. Okay? And so the benefits of this obviously are that you're practicing subdividing. You know, I can tell you that going back in my own education and my own continuing education as a professional, subdivision is not something that came easily to me. It was something that I had to learn to do and that I had to practice doing. And it's something that needs endurance, mental endurance, just the same way we need physical endurance. Another great benefit is that with the mental energy required to do that, we are almost forced to simplify the tone production, to simplify the actions around the articulation, the motion of the articulation. If you keep the notes long and calm sounding, your articulation all by itself becomes less complicated. The tongue just does exactly what it needs to do to shoot in and shoot back out. That makes this an excellent exercise to work on if you're having trouble with hesitations on initial attacks. And you might find that when you start doing it, you get that hesitation on the initial attack. Like that. I've certainly had students struggling with that. Power through it and go right on to the next one. And I think you'll find that as you move the subdivision around, it becomes easier to just have a simple right? And then to take that even a step further, another exercise that I give my students that drives them out of their minds is to try to have a good, clear, firm marcato attack with legato air. Okay? And combined with this, then you really can't have any extra motion in your articulation. And you can't have bad slide timing, or it just simply doesn't work. Yeah. Okay? So I'll just do a couple. Like that. These are both of these, the first way or the second more difficult way. They're both hopefully more difficult. Well, they're more difficult than I hopefully made them sound. And just a couple of minutes a day of practicing this way, of putting the subdivision at the front and center of what you're doing in a simple sequence of notes, can make a big difference over the long term. Thanks for listening.